All right, positive energy all the time. Hope everybody's doing well. Yes, indeed. Late night conversation. I got your message, Quayla. Sorry to hear about your friend. And, for all of you out there, if you lost a loved one or something like that, the worst thing you could do is internalize it and bring yourself down over it. It's the worst thing you could do. You have to um, you have to brush things off in life. Nobody tells you that. They try to encourage you to mourn a lot. They try to encourage you to be sad a lot. But the reality is that if somebody loses their life or passes away, you got to remember that life is not guaranteed to them. But you also got to remember life is not guaranteed to you either. So if you're still alive, why are you not highlighting that? Why are you highlighting the people that passed away and not highlighting the fact that you didn't? So always highlight your life while you got it, no matter what happens. In some cases, some mother lose a child, that's different because mothers carry the baby and that's not a connection that you could break. But if you ain't had no baby or the person's not your baby, then you don't have that type of connection. Like even your connection with your parents, my connection with my mother and my father, my connection to my mother can never be as strong as her connection to me because she carried me 9 months. I didn't carry her 9 months. So she knows me better than I know her. She has a tighter connection to me than I have for her. And so one thing you're gonna learn, if you don't, you're gonna have a rough life. You're going to have to deal with bad things that happen in your life. You're just gonna have to deal with it. And you're not, you know, don't try to live your life where you're upset because something happened bad in your life. That when you think about it, that doesn't make any sense. Bad things happen in everybody's life. So what are you gonna do? If the person that passed away was able to see you, which I don't believe none of that, but if they were, they wouldn't want you walking around moping. They would want to try to have fun through you. They would want you to live life. I mean, if I passed away and I looked down and I seen my son, one of my sons or my children moping, my mentality was they should have passed away and I should have stayed alive. Y'all wasted life. You know what I'm saying? So I walk around moping for I'm the one dead. So come on. You ain't dead, so you tripping. If you can't deal with life like that, you're just gonna have a bunch of sadness in your life all the time. Always remember that when something bad happens in your life, you gotta hurry up and get over it before the next bad thing happens. Because bad stuff happens. It's not going to be a good life. It's not going to be just good, 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 good. So when you kind of get down on yourself because something bad, you're kind of an unrealistic person. You're not realistic about life. What's the alternative? Think about it. What's the other alternative? It's just how it goes. That's the only way you're going to be able to function in this world. You're going to have to get over it, whatever it is. You ain't going to be able to hold on to that, and you got to let it go. And the sooner you let it go, the better. That's my advice to all y'all out there. If you lose loved ones and stuff like that, you got to let it go. You got to let it go. And the best way to let it go is to look at everybody else and ask yourself who you supposed to be. You ain't the only one lost a parent. You ain't the only one lost a brother. You ain't the only one lost a sister. You ain't the only one lost a child. You ain't the only person's house been hit by a tornado. You ain't the only person's house been hit by a hurricane. You ain't the only one. You ain't the only one, so you tripping. Welcome to the club. If you look at it like that, you'll be all right. Think to yourself, who am I supposed to be? Nothing's supposed to happen to me. Stuff happened to everybody else. If you look at it like that, you'll be fine. Okay? And so there's a video going around where somebody was driving yesterday or the day before yesterday, and they say they seen some prisoners picking cotton. Right? Let me show you the video and then we'll talk about it. You see the men on the horses, just like slavery. Now, I did some investigation on this after it was posted and spread around. I asked some of my friends from Mississippi and Alabama, and they said they couldn't have been picking cotton because you don't pick cotton till like October or something like that. They said wouldn't be ready yet. But you got to chop the cotton. So they were still in the cotton field, and chopping it, picking it, you're still a cotton picker. So they're still slaves. If they're chopping the cotton, they're the ones going to have to get back out there and pick it. And just the whole picture of the man on the horse while you in the field is definitely a slave. Slavery. And that video was down in Arkansas at a prison called Cummins Unit. Cummins Unit is where they're doing this at. The other prison that's known for doing this and having prisoners picking cotton and working in the fields is Angola, down in Louisiana. And Angola is the biggest prison population in the United States. down at Angola, Louisiana. And so at these prisons, it's basically modern day slavery at these prisons. And it's a majority black that are being arrested. And so these police build these police forces in the black cities, in the black part of town, and they prey on blacks. And there's other people go to prison too, but they have to move a certain kind of way. Now, in certain states like California, they prey on the blacks and the Mexicans. In Chicago, they prey on the blacks. It's a few Puerto Ricans and stuff in there, but it's a huge just blacks. Just you know, when I was in the county jail, we would go out for rec outside like twice a week, and in the gym twice a week. And the first time I went out for rec, we lined up. The way we was lining up is the fin ball is in the front. So that's Blackstones, Latin Kings, Four Corner Hustlers, Vice Lords, Blackstones. In the middle is the neutrons. These are the people that's not in no gangs. And in the back is the six, Latin disciples, gangster disciples, black disciples, black souls, and there's one more group of brothers I can't recall. The Mickey Cobras are up there with us in the front. So you go out on the yard. And when it's time to come back in, you line up in front of your sheriff or whatever guard took you out. So when it got time to line up, and this is just one area, right? There's a whole bunch of buildings at Cook County, and this is just like maybe one of the buildings. Maybe it's everybody from one of the buildings. Or it might just be everybody from one floor and then everybody from another floor. But then it's all these floors and all these buildings. But nevertheless, when you come out, it's time to go in, you line up. And I looked to my right and I seen brothers, lines of brothers, all the way down there. And I looked over this way and was lines of brothers all the way down there. And it looked like slavery. And it's done in the back of the county jail where no cars are driving. So nobody sees this. But it looks exactly like slavery. And as far as saying stay out of prison, brothers ain't necessarily in prison for nothing they did in a racist society. So let's just get that straight. There's so many brothers going to jail and prison that are innocent that you wouldn't even believe it. If you go to Chicago Cook County Jail and you went and you found out the cases brothers was in there for, you wouldn't believe it. Like probably 2/3 of the people in there shouldn't even be in the county jail. Probably only a third of them. It's overkill. It's people in there. You just wouldn't believe it. That's why they throw so many cases out, and that's why they're giving everybody ankle monitors and early releases and I bonds, because They railroading so many people. They don't know where to put them. It's supposed to be 2 man a cell in the Cook County Jail. It's 3. And then when you sue, because you could sue because it was too many, you don't get nothing but like $15 because there's so many thousands of people that they got to split the lawsuit money up. So if it's 5 million, they got so many people they got to pay. You get $15 or something like that. That's how many people they doing wrong in these jails and in these penitentiaries. They have the outside world thinking like the hood that everybody's in there because they did something. It's the mentality. But if you watch videos, you'll see them throwing stuff in the back of people's car. It's just a video just went viral the other day. The police, they'll take you out your car. You'll be standing there with one police while the other one search your car. He'll sprinkle stuff in your car or throw a pistol in your car and say, "Ah, look what I found." And you go to jail and you tell everybody, "It ain't mine, it ain't mine." Everybody like, he's lying. They do that all the time. My friend, he was on the west side and he got busted on the street hustling. And the police told him, "If you get us 2 or 3 guns right now, we'll let you go." Well, why would they let him go? Because he's one arrest. But if he get him 3 guns, they can plant them on 3 people. That's 3 arrests. It's about money and it's fueled by racism. It's about money and it's fueled by racism. So it's about money, but they're not going to do their own people dirty to make the money. So they're going to do us dirty to make the money. So it's about money and it's fueled by racism. And if you're black and you've been pulled over by the police, you should know this already. And broke your heart seeing them brothers out there in that video. Yeah, if you only knew how dirty some of these prisons are and what they do, they make them fight. They bet on them to fight. They throw them in cells that's dirty on purpose. It's the most craziest brutality that you could not even imagine what they do to them in there. They set them up to get raped, all type of stuff. They make them fight gladiator. They do. You just wouldn't believe what it's like. The jail and the prison system is the reason you got gangs. I keep trying to tell brothers, they don't be want to listen. You don't have gangs because out on the streets. You don't have gangs because of the streets. You have gangs because of the jails and the prisons. These are all facts. Some people be like, y'all need to get out them gangs. It's like, you saying that because you think gangs is from outside. You think gangs is from in the neighborhood. Gangs don't come from the neighborhood. Gangs come from prison and jail. Prison and jail is the high school and the college to graduate to be in the gang. These is absolute facts. I bet $5,000 on that. And we can go wherever you want to go and get any group of gang members you want. And you give me 15 gang members, I'll be like, how many of y'all been in prison? Hands gonna go up. How many of y'all been in jail more than once? Hands gonna go up. Hands gonna go up. Hands gonna go up. You learn all your gang information in prison or jail, in the Cook County Jail. Really in jail. LA County Jail, Cook County Jail. Because you got to know all your information before you go to prison. So there's a responsibility of the gang members in jail to make sure you're prepared when you go to prison. So like when I was in the Cook County Jail, I had to make sure everybody know they lit. And you got to know your literature. If you're a vice lord, you have to know your lit. Now, the brother that ran all of the lords and the foes, he would always say, hey man, make sure dude know his lit. Because if we go to prison and don't know his lit, they're going to blame me. They're going to want to know how he came through here. And I didn't make sure he knew what he's supposed to know. These is facts. So let's say I'm the biggest vice lord or GD in Cook County Jail. And I'm in there fighting a murder or something. So I've been there like 2 years. And let's say I'm a GD, you a GD, or I'm a vice lord, and you're a vice lord, and you come through there where I'm at. And then you get sentenced for me and you go to prison and you don't know none of your lit. They're going to be like, who run it over there? They're going to be like Pharaoh. Like, they're going to send a kite. They're going to send a kite. Pharaoh, you don't know your stuff? Send a kite. All right, Pharaoh. I'm going to pay a serious price for that depending on how much love they got for me. It could be a little whooping. It could be a bad beating. It could even be an execution. Because I ain't teach you what you're supposed to know. And that's what I'm supposed to do if I'm calling it in here. So it's like when they made me the minister of literature, and when I go and tell Shorty to know his lit, you got 3 days. When I come back in 3 days to check if you know you're lit, you don't know it yet. I go back, they say, everybody know their stuff. I'll be like, Shorty don't know his stuff. Now, the pressure's on me now. Because if you don't learn it, I'm going to get a violation. Which means I got to violate you so I don't get violated. You're going to have to get a violation. Now, that could be a workout, 700 and something workouts or push-up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I didn't want to do it. I quit. It'll be in my book. I quit. First I was head of security. I think first I was head of security. Right? And head of security. I quit that too, but head of security. They always wanted to whoop me. Like, what you think this is a gang, Pharaoh? You can't quit? I said, I quit. But anyway, first I was head of security. Because y'all need to learn about this before we finish this conversation. I was head of security. Now, head of security, I had to make sure that the 5-star universals was always protected. The 5-star universals, they the ones like the OGs of the gang. Now, they don't do nothing, but they got the highest authority, but they don't run the deck. They like presidents and governors and stuff, right? So somebody like me or my man, we run the deck. Now, my job is, okay, if if you're universal and you go to your cell, you get your towel stuff, and you finna go in the shower because the shower is just two little things there, no door on it or nothing where you go in, but you do go this way. So you go in like that, then you go that way. So nobody can see you taking a shower, but it's only like one man at a time. This the county jail. But if you're universal and you go take a shower, I got to make sure two men go stand there with shanks at all times. So I mean, if I'm playing cards and I see you go, I go, hey, go get on, dude, right? If I slip and he go in there and I don't have S on him, which is security, I'll have S on him. I gotta pay. Now, by him being high ranking, he gonna determine what I gotta pay him and the guy running the deck. And let's say they don't like you, so they might have them beat you up really bad, like one match or two matches or three matches. And a match is like they light a match. If I got one match, they light a match and they whoop me till it go out. You light a match until it burn all the way down. They pow, pow, pow. They hitting you hard too. They trying to break your jaw, break your ribs. If they don't like you, if you got two matches, they got to do that for two matches. Now, sometimes they'll just give you a workout, like 300 something exercise or 700. But you get the, you know what I'm saying? So all the time, I got to know who got the shanks, how to hide the shanks, and watch these high-ranking officials in there constantly. It's real security. So I got to watch them all the time. Crazy. And we got shanks on them. And the guards be kicking the door in and doing random searches. So you get caught with the shank, you might get 7 years. You're going to get some time. You know what I'm saying? So you're in there taking penitentiary chances in the jail. So you can go in there fighting a case and catch a case. You can get 7 years before you even fight your other case. That's how ugly it is. It ain't no joke. Now, when you get to prison, that's intensified. Because in the county jail, you with everybody in the county. But in the state prison, you with everybody in the state. Okay? The whole state. People from all over the state is in there with you. And it's way more intensified because you ain't going home. You ain't finna beat no case. You got to serve your time in the county jail. You could go anytime you go to court. You might go to court once a month, and one day you can go to court and they just let you go. Ain't no going to court and getting let go in prison. You got 3, you finna do 3. You got 7, you gonna do 7. Now you might get an early release, but ain't no hope that you're gonna go home with no case because you already been found guilty. In the county jail, you're not guilty. You're fighting the case. And so it's a lot of brothers being there for nothing, like regular brothers just in there for like all kind of nonsense. And then they might get sent to prison. So these prisons, they are exploiting the people. And the ones down south, like Angola, down in Louisiana, that's like the biggest population in the country. It's ruthless. And then the one we talking about here is Cummins Unit in Arkansas. And they, got brothers working for free. And you see the guy on the horse, don't it look like slavery? They have the men on horses so that they up tall so they can see what you're doing and to give that whole feeling of slavery. Seriously. At some of the other prisons, they got you in there making clothes. They got you in there cutting up hogs and packing meat. They got you in there making all type of stuff y'all be buying. License plates. You would not believe what they make in the industrial prison system. You understand? And so they got the brothers down there picking cotton in Louisiana and Arkansas. And they got him down there doing all kind of work. See, tell me this don't look like slavery. Look at him on the horse. And look at them. You notice they all black? You notice? And they got to work long hours. And they might get little perks when they get back to the prison. You know what I'm saying? They might get little perks when they get back to the prison. And the whole setup is slavery. You see them in the field working? And they got to pick beans and all different type of stuff. Straight slavery, see? She ain't finna take them out there? To the field of work? That's why they got them white things telling they had to, so the sun won't just be beaming right down on their head. It's slavery for real. They've been doing this for a long time. As soon as slavery was over, they took away your rights with the prison system. So they implemented the prison system was the new slavery. So they could take your rights away. So slavery never ended. It just switched from slavery to prison. And in prison, then you don't got no rights as a human being. And they put all these men in the system to make sure you ain't got no rights as a human being. This is how it was done. It's not a game. It's systematic slavery, especially in the South where they still mad about the Civil War. They still mad about that. And they insist on still enslaving us down there. No ifs, ands, and buts. So the police became the slave catchers, the modern day slave catchers. Same badge and everything. See Runaway Slave Patrol? You see Deputy Sheriff? That's where that police badge come from. Runaway Slave Patrol. This is a real Runaway Slave Patrol badge. Real talk. For real. No ifs, ands, and buts. Let's talk about slavery that still exists in the U.S. cotton. Prison farms. This was written in 2021. You don't see the world as it is, you see it according to who you are. This saying by American educator Stephen Covey sums up the twisted allegations of forced labor with which the U.S. is trying to implicate the cotton industry in China's region. As Washington and its allies, along with Western media, push an aggressive propaganda campaign against the alleged human rights violations in China without offering any credible evidence, one needs to take a closer look at the murky history of forced labor and plantation slavery in the U.S. cotton industry, which some states still continue under political and legal camouflage. There's a lot of hypocrisy involved with the manufacturing of cotton in the United States. While slavery is legally banned in the U.S., the practice continues in the form of prison labor for convicted felons. China-based American expat Robert Van Rox told CGTN Digital, asserting that prison labor continues to be used in cotton farming in the U.S. Slavery is alive and kicking in the U.S. Just that you don't call it slavery anymore, right? Many may find these claims bewildering, but Van Rox is factually correct. The U.S. is perpetrating slavery by all accounts under the garb of prison labor, a darker chapter that is widely and perhaps deliberately overlooked by the West, but needs reminding every time they take a moral high ground on this subject. While it is widely known that the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution in 1865 abolished slavery, not many seem to grasp a crucial legal exception. Section 1 of the amendment provides neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as punishment for crime, wherefore the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Beyond the legalese, this simply means imprisoned felons have no constitutional rights in the U.S., and they can be forced to work as punishment for their crime. Slavery from the back door, if you will. The discriminatory legal and judicial system in the United States has ensured that a large number of African American men are declared felons and therefore eligible for prison labor, which is just another form of slavery. In the United States, if you're a black person, chances of you becoming a felon is very high. 1/3 of black men in America are felons, said Van Rox. A 2017 report by Population Association of America substantiates Van Rox's claim. We estimate that 3% of the total U.S. adult population and 15% of the African American adult male population has ever been in prison. People with felony convictions account for 8% of all adults and 33% of the African American adult male population, the report stated. Cotton production prisons. According to Van Rox, many of the cotton farms in the U.S. are ran by prison laborers under harsh conditions, which is a modern version of slavery. In Arkansas, they have set up prisons where they actually farm cotton. The funny thing and the hypocrisy that is involved is that many of these prisons are former slave plantations, he said. The biggest cotton production prison in Arkansas are Cummins Unit, Lincoln County, and the East Arkansas Regional Unit, Bricky's Van Rocks noted. That's the video I'm showing y'all. That's Cummins. That's the Cummins Unit, where those brothers is out there. The Cummins Unit, with a capacity of 1,725, is one of the largest prisons in Arkansas. The prison farm, formerly known as Cummins State Farm, is built in the area of 16,500 acres and occupies the former Cummins and Maple Grove plantations. Okay, we're going to come back to that. Okay, make no mistake about it. That's why we want reparations. That's why we want reparations, because they still doing slavery, y'all. They still pushing slavery. Look at these brothers picking cotton today or chopping it. Still today. Still today. Let's take a break. Let's take a break. Real talk. So look, I kid you not. They got these brothers still working cotton. Still today. They got the brothers still today working and picking cotton. Still today. In that same place I just read. Somebody filmed that like yesterday, the day before yesterday, because it's a new day today. Somebody filmed that, they were driving by. At this same place, what I'm reading and what I'm talking about right now. They got them brothers still today working cotton. At the Cummins Unit, with a capacity of 1,725, is one of the largest prisons in Arkansas. That's the place you was just looking at. The prison farm, formerly known as the Cummins State Farm, is built in the area of 16,500 acres and occupies the former Cummins and Maple Grove plantations. Cotton is among the chief cash crop, along with rice and corn, that the prisoners harvest in the facility. So they got them out there doing cotton, rice, and corn. The U.S. is the third largest cotton producing country behind India and China. Texas, Georgia, Mississippi, and Arkansas are the major cotton producing U.S. states. Van Rocks maintain that most of the cotton in the U.S. comes from the American prison system funded by the United States government. An archived New York Times report from June 16, 1964, about 2 New York State prisons receiving subsidies under the government's new cotton program established a direct link between prison labor and cotton plantation, which Van Rock insisted continues even today. That's the article right there. Slavery reinvented in Angola prison. As recently as 2015, American media platform The Atlantic, in its documentary Angola for Life, Rehabilitation and Reform Inside the Louisiana State Penitentiary, portrayed a rather murky scenario at the country's largest southern slave plantation turned prison. These prisons used to be slave plantations. The facility is named Angola after the African country that was the origin of many slaves brought to Louisiana. See how wicked they are? It is also popularly known as the farm and the Alcatraz of the South. Crops stretched to the horizon. Black bodies peppered the landscape, hunched over as they worked the fields. Officers on horseback, armed, oversee the workers. The Atlantic wrote describing the first scenes from its documentary in a report. To an untrained eye, the scene from the documentary could have been shot 150 years ago. The imagery haunts, and the stench of slavery and racial oppression lingers through the 13 minutes of footage. The documentary weighs disquieting questions about America's subhuman treatment of its prisoners. Those troubling opening scenes of the documentary offer visual proof of a truth that America has worked hard to ignore. In a sense, slavery never ended at Angola. It was reinvented. It is important to note that of more than 6,000 men currently in prison at the Louisiana State Penitentiary, 3/4 are there for life, and nearly 80% are African American. So when they got you for life, you're finna be picking cotton your whole life. Angola traces its roots of its farm practices to black chattel slavery of the South. The southern states saw a proliferation of prison labor camps during the Reconstruction prison following the Civil War. So as soon as they lost the Civil War, they put us in prison. Large prisons was established that ended up incarcerating mainly black men. Many of these prisons had, till very recently, been slave plantations. Angola and Mississippi State Penitentiary, known as Parchment Farm, among them. Other prisons began convict leasing programs, where for a leasing fee, the state would lease out the labor of incarcerated workers as hired work crews, the Atlantic reported. Convict leasing was cheaper than slavery, since farm owners and companies did not have to worry at all about the health of their workers. I don't see any of that happening in China, asserted Van Rock, who is currently the CEO of a Zhuhai-based company, Smoking Lion, that manages the supply chain, manufacturing, and R&D for several Western companies and has dealt with cotton and textile firms in China. I have been trading in clothing from China and mostly with factories, not the raw growing of cotton and farming in fields. But the U.S. and other Western companies banning the shipment of Chinese cotton because of accusation of forced labor is nothing short of hypocrisy, he said. So it's crazy. Van Rock's assertion appeared valid considering U.S. own dark history of plantation slavery, particularly in cotton farming in the southern part of the country, as depicted in the paper titled Slave Society of the Southern Plantation. The soil of the South was favorable to the growth of cotton, tobacco, rice, and sugar, the cultivation of which crops required large forces of organized and concentrated labor, which the slaves supplied. It said of the prevailing practice in the 18th century. To the north, then to its soil, lacking the fertility of that of the South, required considerable fertilizing, which slave labor did not have the intelligence to learn. Thus, in 1750, the slaves included 3% of the population of the New England colonies, 9% of the middle colonies, and 25% of those south of the Potomac River. By the end of the 18th century, every state north of Maryland, with the exception of New Jersey, had provided for the immediate and gradual abolition of slavery, while the rise of the cotton industry, quick ended by the invention of the cotton gin in 1793, had bound the institution on the South. So basically, you see that the prison system is nothing but slavery. Nothing but slavery. We still in the slave system. Nothing has changed. They just legalized it. Okay? They went from this to this. Same thing. Same thing. Same thing. Nothing has changed. Slavery. Nothing has changed. Nothing. Nothing at all. And there's article after article to prove it. Heavy had been a prisoner at Cuman's unit, one of Arkansas's largest prisons since 2017. He was sentenced to life without parole in 1995 and has shuffled around a few facilities since. He'd seen sickness in the barracks before that was simply life in prison. But this time he said he was terrified. He heard there was no cure for COVID. So this is people was dealing with COVID and all that locked up. And the whole time they were still pushing slavery. Cummins Unit sits near Arkansas River in the southeastern part of the state on nearly 18,000 acres of farmland. Ever since it was established in 1902 on a former cotton plantation, it's been criticized for its brutal and often deadly conditions. In 1971, based on a lawsuit filed by Arkansas prisoners, a federal judge found that the state's entire prison system to be in violation of the Eighth Amendment prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. Arkansas's prisons remained under court oversight until 1982. But like in many of the state's prisons, the ADC continued to cram prisoners in the Cummins. The prisons was built to house a maximum of 1,876 men. Today it holds about 1,950. And it's nothing but a slave camp. That's all it is. Because coming is also a working farm. Prisoners harvest corn and soybeans and slaughter pigs, cows, and chickens. Each morning at 6, hundreds of prisoners are assigned to a whole squad, the term for the field work, all called to present themselves at the prison's entrance, told to deuce up, meaning stand 2 by 2 in a line. Then they make them go out there. Throughout March, whole squad was assigned to swing blade the grass in muddy ditches around the chicken plant reeking of ammonia. Prisoners worked shoulder to shoulder without masks, and some started to question whether they should be working at all. Straight slavery. Straight slavery. And Arkansas is a big cotton state. So it's no coincidence that they're just trying to lock up as many people as they can in Arkansas. You understand? Cotton's acres surged to decade high. Okay? Down there in Arkansas. They got all this cotton. Why? Because of slave labor. Basically, and cruelty. The prisoners don't have no access to the media. The media don't go down there and check on them. Look, prisoners fight against working in heat on former slave plantation, raising hope for change in the South. Straight slavery. So I just wanted to bring that to y'all attention. Send this video to everybody. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Support the channel. Right? Because everybody needs to see this. So this video needs to this live stream needs to be sent to everybody. Support the channel, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, and send this to everybody. I'm telling you, man. Send it to everybody. Because they still got brothers in slavery. Still today. And got them down there chopping and picking cotton and all other type of crops. Look at this. Somebody seen this like 2 days ago driving down the road and filmed it. And if they would have got caught filming it, I bet you they would have got pulled over. Check it out. Let me pull it up. I tell you, man, it's brutal out here. It's just, it's like we living in a horror movie. And just think, nobody knows this. Crazy. the nerve to talk about not giving us reparations when they still doing the same thing. The bill is going up. They still doing the same thing. They still living the same way. Can you imagine? Seriously. So that's why we fighting for reparations. You know what I'm saying? We got to get our reparations because the way they doing us, you know, it ain't no good. We got to stand up and fight. You know? We got to stand up and fight. We can't just sit back and let this go like this. You know what I'm saying? We can't let this go like this. So y'all need to stand up. You know what I'm saying? We can't let that go like that. Like I said, send it to everybody and push for reparations. Support the channel. V is for victory.